Clarity does not begin when you open your mouth. It begins long before that, in the quiet spaces where you sit with yourself and ask the questions most people are too afraid to face. Who are you when no one is watching? What do you truly believe in when the noise of the world fades away? Because if you don't know who you are, how can you expect the world to understand you? Many people think the problem is communication. They say, I don't know how to explain my ideas, or people don't take me seriously when I speak. But the truth is deeper than that. The real problem is not a lack of words, it is a lack of clarity within. When your thoughts are scattered, your words will be scattered. When your purpose is uncertain, your voice will tremble with doubt. You see, clarity is not something you borrow from books or speeches. It is something you discover within yourself. It requires honesty, the kind of honesty that forces you to confront your fears, your insecurities, and even your contradictions. It asks you to sit with your confusion instead of running from it, to question your own beliefs instead of blindly following what others expect from you. And this process is not comfortable. It will challenge you. It will strip away the versions of yourself that were built to please others. You may realize that some of your goals were never truly yours, that some of your dreams were shaped by comparison, by pressure, by the need to fit in. But this discomfort is necessary because every layer you remove brings you closer to your authentic voice. When you begin to understand yourself deeply, something powerful happens. Your thoughts start to align, your ideas become more focused. You no longer speak just to fill the silence, you speak with intention. Every word begins to carry weight because it is rooted in truth, not in hesitation. People can sense this. They may not always understand your words immediately, but they will feel your certainty. And certainty is magnetic. It draws attention, it builds trust, it commands respect, not because you are louder than others, but because you are clearer than others. Knowing yourself also means understanding what you stand for and what you refuse to stand for. It means defining your values so clearly that even in difficult conversations, you do not lose your ground. When you have this level of clarity, you don't need to convince people aggressively. Your presence speaks for you. Your conviction does the work that endless explanations cannot. But let me be honest with you, self-awareness is not a one-time achievement. It is a continuous journey. You evolve, you grow, you learn, and with every experience, your understanding of yourself deepens. The clarity you have today may expand tomorrow, and that is not weakness, that is growth. What matters is that you remain committed to knowing yourself, to refining your thoughts, to aligning your actions with your truth. Because when you truly know yourself, you stop second guessing every word. You stop shrinking your ideas to make others comfortable. You stop apologizing for having a vision. Instead, you begin to express yourself with quiet confidence, the kind that does not seek validation because it already knows its worth. And in that moment, communication is no longer a struggle, it becomes a reflection of who you are. Your words become sharper, your message becomes stronger, and your presence becomes undeniable. Not because you learned a technique, but because you built a foundation within yourself that no external judgment can shake. This is where real clarity begins, not in perfect sentences, not in rehearsed speeches, but in the courage to understand yourself so deeply that when you finally speak, there is no confusion left to translate. Your words are never just words, they are a reflection of what you believe about yourself. Every sentence you speak carries the weight of your inner world, your doubts, your confidence, your fears, and your certainty. You may try to sound confident, you may rehearse the perfect lines, but people don't just hear what you say, they feel how you say it. There is a difference between speaking and believing. Many people speak with hesitation hidden beneath polished language. They choose the right vocabulary, they follow the right structure, yet something feels incomplete. That missing piece is confidence, not the loud, performative kind, but the quiet belief in your own worth and ideas. When you do not trust yourself, it shows in the smallest ways. You over-explain your thoughts as if you are asking for permission to be understood. You soften your statements with unnecessary apologies. You add phrases like, I think, maybe, or I'm not sure, but not because your idea lacks value, but because you doubt whether you have the right to express it with certainty. And slowly, without realizing it, you teach others how to perceive you. If your words sound unsure, people will question you. If your tone carries doubt, your message will lose its strength. It is not always about what you say, it is about the energy behind it. Confidence in communication is not about having all the answers. It is about trusting that your perspective matters. It is about standing behind your words even when they are not perfect. Because perfection is not what commands respect, authenticity does. When you begin to believe in your own voice, your communication transforms. You stop trying to impress and start trying to express. You become more direct, more intentional, more present in your conversations. You don't rush your words out of fear of being interrupted or judged. You allow yourself to pause, to think, to speak with clarity instead of urgency. This kind of confidence is built, not inherited. It comes from keeping promises to yourself, from showing up even when it is uncomfortable, from proving to yourself that you are capable of handling challenges. Every time you act with integrity, every time you honor your values, you strengthen your inner foundation. And that foundation becomes visible in the way you speak. Your tone changes. Your body language aligns with your message. Your words become more grounded, more precise, more impactful. You no longer rely on external validation to feel secure in what you are saying. Even if someone disagrees with you, it does not shake your confidence because your belief is not dependent on their approval. But here is something important to understand. Confidence does not mean arrogance. It does not mean dismissing others or dominating conversations. True confidence creates space. It allows you to listen as much as you speak. It gives you the ability to respect different perspectives without losing your own. When your words are backed by genuine confidence, they carry a quiet authority. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You don't need to repeat yourself endlessly to be understood. There is a sense of clarity and conviction that makes people pay attention, not because they are forced to, but because they are drawn to your presence. And this is where many people struggle. They try to fix their communication without fixing their self-perception. They focus on techniques, on scripts, on strategies, but ignore the inner dialogue that is shaping their voice. If you constantly question your worth, no amount of polished language will make your communication powerful. So, the real work is not just learning how to speak, it is learning how to believe. It is changing the way you see yourself so that your words naturally reflect strength instead of hesitation. It is understanding that your voice is not something you need to earn, it is something you already have, waiting for you to trust it, because the moment you start believing in your own words, others will start believing in them too. There is a quiet power in simplicity that most people underestimate. In a world that celebrates complexity, we often believe that the more we say, the more impressive we sound. We try to decorate our words with sophistication, layering them with jargon, over explanations, and unnecessary details. But the truth is, the more complicated your message becomes, the more it loses its impact. Simplicity is not a lack of intelligence, it is the result of deep understanding. When you truly know what you want to say, you don't need to hide it behind complexity. You don't need to make it sound heavier than it is. You can express it clearly, directly, and powerfully. Think about the people who leave a lasting impression on you. It is rarely the ones who speak the most, it is the ones who speak with clarity, who can take something complicated and make it easy to understand. That ability is not accidental, it is a skill built through discipline and awareness. When your thoughts are unclear, you compensate with more words. You go in circles, repeating yourself in different ways, hoping that something will finally land. But when your thoughts are clear, your words become fewer, sharper, and more intentional. You say exactly what needs to be said, nothing more, nothing less. Simplicity requires courage because it forces you to be precise. There is no space to hide behind long explanations or vague language. You have to take full responsibility for your message. You have to decide what truly matters and let go of everything that doesn't serve your purpose. And this is where many people struggle. They are afraid of being misunderstood, so they say too much. They try to cover every possible angle, answer every possible question before it is even asked. But instead of creating clarity, they create confusion. The listener becomes overwhelmed, and the core message gets lost. When you embrace simplicity, you respect the attention of the person listening to you. You understand that their time and focus are valuable, and you choose to communicate in a way that is easy to follow. You guide them through your ideas instead of drowning them in information. Simplicity also makes your message memorable. People may forget long explanations, but they remember clear and concise statements. A simple idea, expressed with conviction, has the power to stay with someone long after the conversation ends. But simplicity is not about dumbing things down. It is about refining your message until it becomes its most powerful form. It is about removing the noise and keeping the essence. It is about asking yourself, what is the one thing I want them to understand? And building everything around that. This requires practice. It requires you to slow down and think before you speak. It requires you to organize your thoughts, to choose your words carefully, to be intentional with every sentence. Over time, this discipline transforms the way you communicate. You become more focused, more effective, more impactful. There is also a sense of confidence that comes with simplicity. When you are clear about your message, you don't feel the need to prove yourself with complicated language. You trust that what you are saying is enough, and that trust creates a calm, grounded presence that people naturally respect. Simplicity creates space in conversations. It allows others to engage, to ask questions, to connect with what you are saying. It turns communication into a shared experience instead of a one-sided explanation, and in that space, real understanding happens. The most powerful messages in the world are often the simplest ones. They are easy to understand, easy to remember, and impossible to ignore. Not because they are loud, but because they are clear. When you learn to embrace simplicity, you stop chasing perfection in your words. You focus on clarity, on purpose, on meaning. You begin to understand that it is not about how much you say, it is about how well you say what truly matters. And in that clarity, your voice becomes stronger, your message becomes sharper, and your presence becomes more powerful. There is a silent habit that holds more people back than lack of talent, lack of opportunity, or even lack of skill, and that habit is the constant need for approval, the need to be liked, to be accepted, to be validated before you even allow your voice to exist. It is subtle, almost invisible, but it shapes the way you speak, the way you present your ideas, and the way you show up in every interaction. You start editing yourself before anyone else gets the chance to hear you. You filter your thoughts, soften your opinions, and reshape your message to fit what you think others will agree with, not because your ideas are weak, but because your confidence is tied to how they will be received. And in doing so, you slowly disconnect from your authentic voice. Seeking approval turns communication into performance. Instead of expressing what you truly believe, you begin to say what feels safe. You measure your words based on reactions instead of truth. You wait for nods, for agreement, for reassurance that you are doing it right. And if that reassurance doesn't come, you shrink even further. But here is the reality: if you rely